You're watching a Zero Dark Network production.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Friday Live on Zero Dark Network. This is, I think, our fourth episode, and so I do have an agenda to talk about today. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm actually on my phone right now. I was having computer problems again, so I got up earlier, but sometimes I guess things happen for a reason. But it looks like I'm transitioning onto my Zoom here on my computer, because I do have some things I want to share on my computer screen. So I hope you had a great Christmas and with your family, or if you did any traveling, you can leave some comments in the comment section. And planning for 2024. Hopefully you got some good goals, some good visions for the future coming up here next, I guess January 1st is coming up in a couple of days. And so I've been going through preparing for goals and finishing up some books that I've had been reading or finishing up. So I want to start tallying what my accomplishments were for 2023, and making plans. So bear with me a few minutes here as I transition over to my desktop computer. Put on some lights, testing a new little sound device that I bought a little while back. I also have a microphone that I'm using as well. So just want to see how the sound quality happens with this. What we're going to talk about today. I do have a list here of things to go, but I just wanted to see what this particular episode was kind of leading to. So let me go ahead and open it up with prayer. Now, that's kind of one of the things that I started with this, just to help guide the discussion, help prepare those that are watching for what they might want to talk about or comment about, or what they might be thinking about. It's really early in the morning. It's 03 here in Houston, Texas Central Time. I do have people that are following us from different places around the country. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we had a viewer from Zimbabwe. And so John Oscar in Zimbabwe is a bishop and a leader, and he's looking at maybe starting a group there in Tanzania. And so let me go ahead and open up for prayer. Holy Father, Lord, we just thank you for this morning. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to rise early and just explore what it is you're sharing in our time, in our lives, Father, in 4 key areas of health, wealth, love, and happiness. As we map out our futures, or as we change our mindsets, as we are early to rise, Father, to get a start on the day, and to really just see what you are going to do with this change of mindset of getting up early, getting things in motion in the quiet of the morning. So thank you, Lord, for this day. Today is December 29th, 2023, and we're preparing for 2024. Amen. All right. Let's see here. Computer's still taking a little time. So while we're waiting on the computer to catch up with me here, because I wanted to show a new commercial that I produced to kind of get the idea message more succinct. You can actually go to zerodarknetwork.com and see the first rendition of the message commercial, however you want to say it. It's kind of interesting just to put the elements together, and then I'm thinking of what kind of message that I want to write that would detect or show up on someone's radar for something like this to get up and be a part of. But again, while the computer's kind of catching up here, I wanted to promote our offerings. Saturday, tomorrow, we have a group called Change Me. Right now, we're meeting in Houston, but we are um, planning to receive at some point 25 members for the Change Me Saturday. And Change Me Saturday is really geared towards not necessarily a mastermind, because the masterminds are tighter knit groups, but it's more of a time of a celebration of discovery. More people involved, a lot more opportunities to network and to come as you are. It's not as regimented, let's say, as the mastermind group that we meet on Tuesday, which is limited to 12. But Change Me Saturday is a concept we're putting together, and the idea is in the future these can scale. You could have a meeting in your area, in your town, in your city, in your state, or even in your nation. And so it's bringing like-minded folks that are getting up early, especially on a Saturday. The week is done, and you're looking forward to the weekend and being with people that hold on a second, check my sound. Yeah, it's hooked up good. That are like-minded again, right? For discovery, for book sharing, for sharing life's experiences. Maybe have a guest speaker. Like this Saturday, I have a lady coming in. Actually, she's coming in Tuesday, but we have an opportunity for people to come in to speak, for 15 minutes. On the Tuesday group, it's more of a mastermind, limited to 12 by invitation, and so maybe we may pull some of the attendees on the Saturday group that are more in tune to a regular meeting, and also a more intimate meeting with a fewer number of people, but also being specific on the backgrounds, right? So we want to have different backgrounds because of the business interests, the things that we're looking at, from startup to acquisitions to practical, accounting, legal, politics, trend spotting, because we're seeing some opportunities just in the few people that are here, just reviewing opportunities, and then figuring out how to either put them on the agenda to implement, or um, to add up to our learning. Right? I don't want. I'm trying to think of an example here. For right now, I have a candidate that's running for Congress, and one of the things that I've created is a fundraising model that is turnkey. And so the idea is simplicity. The idea is to create opportunities that add value to our interests. So that's going to be the Tuesday mastermind. Of course, then I started this Friday live. And of course, if you go to the website Zero Dark Network, we're going to be adding a blog. Right now, we've got all of the details spelled out. I've got an ad running in my area, Sci-Fair, to attract business owners, Sci-Fair entrepreneurs that want to be a part of the Zero Network concept. And Zero Network, I borrowed from military term Zero Dark 30. So Zero Dark is actually earlier than Zero Dark 30, and it's a network. So the thing is, even though we may meet in the morning at 3, we're still having conversations throughout the day and throughout the week, because we built up a unique camaraderie with each other, and a grace and mercy dynamic that you don't get with a lot of these networking groups, because sometimes they're just too fast, or they're not really as as thought out as maybe we're looking to do with this one, right? Because if someone's willing to get this early, then that they're committed to their dream, their mission, their goal, their vision, their family, their community, etc. So, and I did get up at 2:15 this morning to get ready for this. So, but the old rule said Murphy's Law, that what can go wrong will go wrong. And O'Toole's Law says that Murphy was an optimist. So it will go wrong, period. So we're now logging in, and I'll transition off of this phone once I'm able to make the transition. And the other reason, again, why I wanted to get on my laptop desktop is to be able to share the commercials and things, share screens and resources that I have planned to share today. And we're going to go to 4 today, which I usually keep this to an hour, just to beyond that, right? You start to lose interest. So, and getting your comments, please share this if you would. People that are you are in your network you think might benefit from this. Or I'm going to join here, then I'm going to exit once I'm live. You may get a little bit of an echo, so we'll transition out of that. We'll transition over to a different mic as well. I'll turn off my computer so that way we don't get an echo. Oh yeah, so I did change my wake up time now from 2:45 to 2:30. If you've been following along, my friend Asa, who's part of my I think our group, our startup group, had seen the video that's on the website, 0230 wake up, and so he decided to change his schedule to 2:30. And I had been feeling the same thing. It's like, that extra 15 minutes really accounts for delays like this that come up, right? So that extra 15 minutes is something that I'm going to reclaim host here, then I'm going to exit.
There we go. So sorry for the little glitch there, but thank you for your patience. So now we're back on my laptop computer. And now we can get rocking. So again, I hope you're making good plans for 2024. And that's kind of what we've been talking about at our meetings is preparing. There's a lot of great books out there. And as I make an assessment of the top 5 that I read the last couple of years, the one that I'm really watching right now, reading right now, is E-Myth by Michael Gerber. This is a book that I should have read 20 years ago when it comes to business, and I'll talk a bit more about it. But finalizing to the last few pages of it, and I'll probably get this one read here in the next couple of days. The other one that we'll talk about today is How to Own Your Own Mind by Napoleon Hill, and we'll talk about these as well. And then making plans with my planner. Just purchased the Zig Ziglar planner that one of our resources, Howard Partridge, swears by, and so he buys these every year and stacks them. And so I'm gonna go through this process myself, but also share it with the group as they start to plan for 2024. So let me go ahead and share the commercial with you. I'm gonna share my screen and my sound. Let's see here. And you have a chance to watch the commercial. Let's see where we'll go. We'll go here. All right, there we go. So I spent some time yesterday creating this commercial. Let me know what. Let me read. I want to make sure I share my sound. I didn't check that. So you learn these technologies, right? Yeah, share sound. There we go. I always share sound. Otherwise, I'll hear what you won't hear, right? So a lot of what I do in marketing is creative, but it's strategic. And over the years, I've written many commercials and radio commercials, and produced film or whatnot. So um, a lot of this is, as I look at setting up systems, is how do you train people to do what you do, so you don't necessarily have to do it all. So I do spend a lot of time, if I were to teach someone, like, how would I direct them to create a video like this, and give them some guidance. So this video doesn't have a voice message to it yet, but it is going to be a video that kind of conveys the spirit and the dynamic of Zero Dark Network. So there's some cool elements, thankfully, with the software that I'm using that allows me to use some B-roll and to kind of get a vibe or an essence of the brand. And I am going to talk a little bit today about creative vision. Of course, I just mentioned the books that I'm reading with, I think, Napoleon Hill referencing Andrew Carnegie's mantra that anything that's been successful has had a originator creator with creative vision that maps it out all the way to completion. So it's one thing to imagine something, but imagination doesn't do much until you actually put it into practice, right? But putting it into practice all the way to completion is where creative vision sets the difference, right? So think an engineer, think legal, think um, a business formation. It's the same thing. You have the idea, but then you see it how it's manifesting to actually work, and that goes back thousands of years. This is a principle that's been around for a while. So in this commercial, I just thinking of a concept of how do I make this brand have an essence to it that's unique, that's different, that captures attention. So I definitely would love to have your feedback on it. And that's the other part of having a mastermind and a group of folks is, bright people think differently. They don't necessarily, you know, by themselves, they can be brilliant, but when you bring a group of people together, let's call it super brilliant. The ideas get better and better because there's things that maybe the originator or the person that's casting the dream or vision is missing that will add and attract other stronger leaders, right, to come to the table to make it work. So let's go ahead and share this now. Hold on one second. All right. So that was the Zero Dark Network commercial, which is all inclusive of everything that we're building out from the books and resources that we're sharing. Oh, I still have other things playing here. All right. That was just, I don't know if you heard that in the background, but the YouTube was still on. So adding resources to the website, make it more interesting, adding books to reference. But again, we'd love your feedback on that commercial. I haven't really thought of the audio message, but I don't want to overdo it, right? So when you hear the opening, it's an emergency, like an alarm bell, kind of a little hint of preparation, right? So if you're going to get up early like that, you're going to have something that wakes you up. And of course, there's all kinds of recommendations for the way you wake up, what you listen to. Maybe it's your favorite song, maybe it's something drastic or something that you change from time to time. So you put some thought into what your wake up experience is going to be like. So a lot of times, even this morning, I set the alarm for 2:15 because I want to prepare for this meeting. But last night, I actually wrote my notes as to what I was going to talk about. So I had a little bit of kind of a head start on the day the night before. And of course, again, planning that, things may go wrong, whatever, but that's okay. So the whole spirit of this type of process is that as you're setting it up, you're going to work through the glitches, right? You're going to perfect it. And that's kind of the same process of starting business interests, business goals, campaigns, anything that you're working on. You're going to think about it, you're going to map it out, but then you're going to adjust for changes. So we've already opened up with a welcome. We've done our prayer. Uh, Again, I started with my smartphone this morning, it's transitioning over to my computer. Just show the new commercial. We've done the promotion for the Saturday Change Me, and would love to have you involved if you're here in Houston and you'd like to come to one of the meetings. We meet here in Cy-Fair area, which is between Highway 6 and 529. Excuse me. And that one is open generally to anybody that wants to attend and as they want to attend. So we'd love to have you join us. Just reach out to me. My phone number is 713-560-3348. Again, 713-560-3348. I'm in the process of editing these episodes. Again, I think this is our fourth episode, so I'll get all the four episodes online. Episode 3 is online now at our YouTube channel. And I think I have a link to that on our website. If not, I'll add a YouTube link directly to the playlist. Then we have our mastermind group on Tuesday, which I kind of went over on that, but that's more focused thought on bringing value. Well, bringing value to everybody, but it's a more concentrated group, right? They're committed, and that's before we admit a person into the mastermind group. They have to be committed to the Tuesday gathering. And then in the backdrop, keep in mind that if you like what we're doing here, you decide, hey, I want to do this in my town, please reach out to me because then we can, like, as we're building our workbook and our plan, we'll be able to give you a model that we're using that you can replicate and maybe, with your input, you may improve upon it. Um, so that's promoting the new location. So yeah, that's the idea is selecting the right venue, maybe through an existing relationship or resource that's underutilized, you know. And so right now, we're meeting in a Denny's and it's open 24 hours and they've got a back room and ordinarily, there'd be a process of reserving the room, but thankfully, since it's so early, there's nobody there, and the wait staff there has gotten used to us coming around. They actually like us being there, and so they know that we're coming in on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And again, we're bringing business as we grow this. It's going to be a blessing to the business, and so and we're looking at blessing the people that are waiting on us. These people that they're like you and me. They have visions, they have dreams, they have goals. So we've had an opportunity to chat with people about their dreams and goals and visions, and kind of seeing what's going to happen with that, right? Or you may have another location that you might be aware of in your area that might be for good. There's IHOP down the street. Now they don't have a back room there, so maybe your best bet might be like a Denny's or something like that. Yeah, so I did want to go over the new year for 2024. A lot's been said about setting goals and casting your vision. And so what's really brought that home for me is especially with Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth, and How to Own Your Own Mind with Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, and talked about creative vision, meaning that, when we talked a little bit about finding your why, being really super critical, super important before you start any venture, especially a business, right? Is like, what do you want your ideal, your perfect day to look like? What does your life look like in 2 years, 5 years, when everything you're working hard for comes together, and sometimes it may take 10 years, but it could happen a lot faster by knowing exactly, what your life is built upon. Let me see here. I'm trying to get to where I want to share with you my vision board. I think I need to move it over here. So one of the things I've been working on here is my vision board. And I've always wanted to do one, and I've asked people to help me, but I never really got any takers. So if you go to our website, Zero Dark Network, there is a resource, I think, where on the website where I have uh, two videos that kind of go through two different processes for a vision board. And I took a hybrid, right? So one of them recommended you have maybe up to three vision boards, one for the year, one for your business, and one for your future life. Another one was more simplistic, one pager. Um, and so I just took a hybrid. So what I wound up doing is I went down to an office depot here, bought the foam board blank, and I just put it up on an easel. Didn't do anything with it other than, okay, let me think about, how to put this together. And I prayed about it too. I was like, okay, Lord, teach me or show me what I need to put on this board. And so as I started to put it together, it's not finished yet. So the first thing I put was health, wealth, love, and happiness. And right here, right there, if you can see on my computer screen, because those are the four key areas of life that I really am focusing on, right? Improving health, fitness, nutrition, diet, uh, anything that has to do with health. Like we're looking into some stem cell research. We've actually got an opportunity to grow that. And so the company's called Supreme Rejuvenation. If you'd like to know more about it, it's breakthrough biotech. It's been researched and studied, and doctors are starting to administer to it. And there's a lot of incredible things happening with it. Then under wealth, like, okay, what are the different benchmarks that we can look at, not just financial, but relationship wise, opportunity wise. And then love is what you do with those you care about the most, being more intentional. And then happiness, what are the things that make you happy that you can schedule and you can plan for and put into your life? So as I'm putting my vision board together, I'm also thinking about my volunteer work that I do a lot with the veteran community. And then what on the happiness side is like the Christian stuff, like my church, Katie Christian Chamber, the Revelation File, which is a ministry that I support with Wally Wood, Champions Kids Camp. And so that's always on the front of my mind every day as I walk past the board. I take a quick look, all the different brands that we're working on. I've got Marketing Dynamics, my company. We've been pushing a thing called Think Bigger. If you're going to think, go ahead and think big. And then it costs you extra to think bigger, right? So make your mind expand. You never know. It's like, what, as you think bigger and bigger, then you start to manifest and live into that, and things start to reveal themselves to you as to what's possible. I've got a brand called the Blood of Christ that I created. It's a multimedia slash merchandising slash speakers group. If you go to bloodofchrist.us, you can kind of check out the website there. We've been talking a lot about increasing your VRIN score in production. That's value, rarity, inimitable, and non-substitutable. Basically, Hollywood quality production. Of course, not the bad stuff in Hollywood, the good stuff, the good cameras, the good acting, the good music, the good production that makes for great brands. I started a group called the Bad Mofo Club, and so that's kind of patterned after the movie Pulp Fiction. And so we started a group that's basically kind of like the Zero Dark Network, formerly bad guys that are now, their brother's keeper, right? And on mission, that's something that I've made known for a while. So if you look at my sign up here, on mission, got a tattoo that says on mission, and the mission is the Great Commission. Also finalizing my book, The Marketing of Good podcast. And then of course the types of vehicles that one day we'd like to own. And and so I've got, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, I think Maserati and Infinity SUV. I think my daughter wants a Cadillac, so we're going to put that on here. And again, it doesn't cost anything to put this stuff up there, but it inspires your mind because now your subconscious doesn't know the difference. And so, interestingly, like even with the stem cell technology, this will all be possible. I've already got 3 or 4 salespeople that are doing their due diligence on this new biotech, and as a facilitator leader, thought leader, and permission to bring things like this to the right people, they're getting serious about it and getting involved in it, and it becomes a passive income for me. It's not like it's a real business, it's a real technology. It's not a multi-level or anything like that. But it's something that's so new. It's a new trend that there is a lot of talk of exosomes. You do some research on it. If you're interested in getting into the space, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with the leaders on it here in Houston that has a master contract. My friend Jonathan Gwynn has a master contract in Texas, Houston and south of the border. I'm sorry, in the border area, all the way to the border, and then a master contract for international. Um, Under happiness, my wife and we have talked about going to Italy, maybe going to France, Greece. I like to go to Israel, although there's some turmoil there now, but you know, there's always going to be wars and rumors of war. L'Amazon. I think that's where Napoleon Hill's, not Napoleon Hill, Napoleon Bonaparte mansion with Josephine is in France. And then we're planning a trip to Florida in Davenport in May. So my wife has actually gotten on board with this, pardon the pun on the board, dream board, but we're mapping out that beautiful life. And it's like, the thing is, a lot of times you can, if you don't have this top of mind, you're just kind of going through life. Well, every day is an adventure now. So every day we're working closer to making our dreams happen. And so I wanted to share this dream board concept with you because as I go through the Zig Ziglar planner, again, this is recommended by Howard Partridge and he swears by it. The first 3 pages really are a model that Zig Ziglar created that, it's proven, it's tried. So you do a self-evaluation in the key areas of your life and you rate yourself. And so that gives you kind of a benchmark of where you're at and where you want to go. And then, of course, I have written out what my vision statement looks like. So I'll be able to uh, put this in writing. The idea is you write, there's a place to write your vision statement of what your dream life looks like, So in the future, for example, as I model this and talk about this with people in my circles, okay, you know what, begin with the end in mind. That's Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What does your dream life look like? And some people, their plan is 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever. I said, well, you may not live that long. So let's scale it down, to a couple of years. And if you hit it sooner, great. If you don't, you still are within the parameters and moving a lot more efficiently, smarter, harder, faster, right? So that being said, is, my dream life is like, well, you know what? In reality, in the future, once I structure my business the way I want to, that's again going through eMyth. eMyth, says kind of the same thing: is map out your life and then find the business that's going to take you there. And the business is just a vehicle. So before you start a business, really, it's like, you need to have why you're doing it and then find out what kind of business model you need that's going to give you that life. And so I see my life as basically being able to work anywhere in the world 3 months out of the year, in anywhere. It could be Florida, it could be Colorado, it could be Italy, it could be Greece. And if I need to jump on a plane to get to the office, which I do plan on having an office here in Houston, a marketing firm, if you will, having really capable strategic marketers that are assigned to key accounts, but not just marketing, but sales. And then originating, starting things like podcasts, publishing books, documentaries, not just for myself, but for my clients. So we're looking at, music, we're looking at entertainment, we're looking at all the different things that fall under the marketing umbrella, right? But then creating positions that people can do, right? Make it so easy for them that it's easier to find people that you put them in a place and they're part of the vision and they're part of something bigger than themselves, right? So the whole idea with the goal planning is once you've mapped out, the places you go, the restaurants you go with your family, things you do for leisure, vacation time, memories with your network and your team. I think it was in E-Myth that Michael Gerber says, imagine you're at your own funeral. And what does that day look like? Who's there? What are you wearing? What kind of music is happening? And what are people saying about you? And so once you kind of have a glimpse of what that looks like, then go and live that life. Go build what's going to make, that day more memorable for everyone because you impacted their life. And so as I look at, what future it entails, there's no shortcuts. We see that in our reading. We see that in a lot of the trainings. It's going to be a daily grind, a daily commitment, and not a grind, but it's going to be a fun grind, right? So what I've observed last, couple of years is the changes that I've made in reading. Atomic Habits, is a book that I read that talked about, doing these daily disciplines, that consistently getting up early, reading, going to the gym, which I'm implementing now in my health plans for 2024. I didn't get to do my marathon this last year. I made it a goal. And that's the other thing is I'm not trying to be a runner. I just want to meet the guy that runs the marathon, right? So now it's the goal. A lot of times with goal setting, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So the mission is to run a marathon, right? So the goal to do that, is going to come because I have the mission to do it, right? I want to meet that guy that's going to run the marathon. So the key is putting those things in place. So as I get through the winter, starting to up my cardio, starting to get the miles in, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm revisiting for 2024 is like, I still want to do the marathon. I didn't get to do it last year, just didn't make time for it. So that's a part of the learning curve, right? You gotta, as you do these things, some of them take time. Like I've got a lot of things on my plate to do, especially with my volunteer work, but 15 minutes here, 30 minutes committed, all of a sudden it starts to add up. So for example, oh, we're to finish up. So with the planner, this is something that you can review daily, what your goals are, right? So you have your vision for your future. Everything you're doing today is tied to that future tomorrow. That comes from The One Thing by Gary Keller. And so this will be my daily reminder to review and assess and then make improvements for the next day, right? These daily disciplines. So that's one thing I wanted to go over with you. And oh, what did I say? So during Christmas, my daughter actually went to Seattle a couple of weeks ago, last month, and she brought me this really cool coffee cup. Now it's become my favorite because it's got this really cool glaze on it. And as you drink the coffee, the color of the cup, it just kind of it's got a nice texture to it and a nice feeling to it, and it just exudes coffee. So I really told her this is my favorite one now, and it came from the original Starbucks in Seattle. Then another cool thing that she got me was this really um, nice journal that I'll be using, handmade, handcrafted. This is bison leather, and it's got a nice little wrap to it. So I'm saving this for my special uh, quotes that I'm reading. It's got 100% cotton, non-acidic paper. And so I tried writing with my fountain pen on it. So it really does soak up ink. So I'm testing different writing utensils. And then once you're done with this, they have a way to rebind it. So they've got binding in here. And it's done old school. This is like really old school back in the, I guess, 1700s or below or beyond, but they bind the papers into the booklet. And so I forget how many pages. I think there's 55 pages on this thing. So this will be a little special remembrance type journal that I'll be doing. That's another thing that I've been implementing into my schedule this year is doing some time for journaling. Now, again, a lot of this stuff too is experimental, meaning that I'll start it and then I've got to get to a place where I'm doing it every day, right? So with the journaling, kind of the same thing. With journaling, they're saying that, as you're putting thoughts to your life and reflecting on your day, you're just getting more concentrated effort that also affects your subconscious as well. So everything starts to move in the direction, that you want for your life. And that's what I'm seeing, so I'm not a leading expert in any of this, and so I'm a layman, but I am good at translating what I'm learning to help others. And so other people are connecting with that, right? They're saying, yeah, you know what, Andy, you're making sense, and maybe I need to make some changes and not forcing anybody to do anything. It's like, I'm just discovering like, hey, I should have figured this stuff out years ago. They didn't teach us this in college or anything like that, or even in school. But thankfully, even with my own daughter yesterday, Kenna, she's 20, going to A&M, super bright. And of course, as a dad, I always advise my children, I think, invest in your own education, right? And just start, 10 minutes a day if that's all that you have capacity wise. And so thankfully, one of my good friends, my daughter's studying forensics, and she wants to be, kind of a homicide detective or coroner type person. She's always been interested in science and, crime prevention and all that. So as she's adding to her own learning beyond college. A good friend of mine who was a former military lady, she was a medical examiner type in her background. She actually donated some books to me. So my daughter and I went through them here last couple of days, and she found 5 or 7 of them that she liked, and so she's going to make a commitment to reading them, right? So that's going to add to her learning. And of course, what I was advising her, I said, over the next year or two, I said, you're going to add that to your resume. How many books have you read in this subject matter? And by the, comparison standards, you can be so far ahead of other candidates for jobs or opportunities because of, your texture to your learning. You didn't just rely on college per se. So that's a journey that, we can all take advantage of. And so that's one of the things that, as I look at this year, I'm assessing. I didn't have as good of a year this year as I wanted, mainly because I had mentioned that I got the long form COVID back in February, and it really took me off my trajectory. But even then, I was able to accomplish a lot more things that I would have accomplished had I not been intentional about doing the things I'm doing now, right? And the opportunities that are opened up as a result. So who knows what 2024 is going to look like? Because I'm really excited about the momentum we have here now and what we're doing. Uh, so I already did my dream board. Man, I'm way ahead of myself here today. So it's 3:39 and we still have 20 minutes. Talked about the dream board, the perfect day. We talked about E-Myth, creative vision, and master your mind. Um, I made mention of the top 5 books. I have a potential client and she is making changes herself. She owns a successful little business and uh, does trade shows across the country, and it's to the point now where it's almost automated. And she's written a book that she wants to market. So she's transitioning out of that business and into marketing and promoting her book, right? So as we're looking at working with authors, one of the things that, I'm looking for is the author treating their book as a hobby or they want to make it a thing. And so key is the book, right? For me as a marketer, I need to read the book because that tells me the product. Like, okay, what's the value that you're bringing to market? What is the conversation? It's a thought leader conversation that people need to know about. Again, creative vision, right? And with that creative vision, what does success look like? So everything again is begin with the end in mind in life, in a campaign, in adventure, in running a marathon. So everything can be broken down to okay, you know what, with the marathon, I'll be getting more intentional about seeing myself going across the finish line, and maybe having my family there and thinking through what that day is going to be like, where we're going to go eat breakfast, where we're going for lunch, we're going to celebrate, I'm going to take a break, but the journey is the training up to that. So then as I create a vision it out, what does that look like starting January 1st? Because really that's kind of my day to start getting the routine going, right? And so we've already gotten a new gym, my wife and I, and so she's starting to talk with me about going to the gym more and biting it down, not where it's like overwhelming. It's like the thing is, a lot of times we make these things bigger than they really are. And so if you're just getting started, again, go to the gym for 15 minutes, go for 30 minutes on the treadmill, whatever, just get started and then get consistent. And then before you know it, now you've built a habit. And as you look at the different areas that you're making improvements on, it all adds up in time. So again, I recommend the book, The E-Myth. This will be on our website as well. Um, Mastering Your Mind. My friend Asa recommended this book again because as we're putting the mastermind group together, he wanted to make sure we are talking the same language. And I think Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich talked about creating a mastermind. And so as I look at it from a marketing perspective, I'm also looking at hive mind, where you can have the small group that actually influences a bigger group, and then you have more of a community, right? And that can grow exponentially. And so with hive mind, we're always building up our networks, building up our resources, our contacts. And so how do you implement all that? So one of the exercises I wanted to go to today, and I'll share screen again, is what we've been doing at the Change Me Saturdays. This will be the third episode of the video I shared on the last episode, which you can see at our YouTube channel. And to see if I have our YouTube channel here yet. Yes, I don't have our YouTube channel here yet, but on training, yes. If you go to our website, zerodartnetwork.com, you can go to the training section. And then on the training section, I have the vision board, setting up the vision board. There's 2 videos there, and then mindset. So if you want to have a successful business, I always put number on it, $1 million, 10 million. I think Ty Lopez, I had a training with him that I watched called The Business Mindset. There's 4 levels of success. One is, what do you call it? Scarcity, basically. That's level 1. Level 2 is prosperity. That's like 100,000 a year revenue. And then you've got $1 million businesses, level 3. The level 4 is like super wealthy. So $100 million would be the level 4 type of lifestyle. So deciding where you want to be, and this is work, but it's not overwhelming work, right? So, but it adds up over time. I think again I made reference to the miracle solution or extraordinary faith, um, uh, and over there was I can't remember now. It's something about not extraordinary work, but it was undaunting faith, and extraordinary work. So work is like just the simple disciplines you put daily add up, and it becomes makes your miracles happen, right? So let's go ahead and go through this training here. And I got my got my video. Again, the commercials on the website. We're running a Facebook ad campaign here. My zip code 77084. And so I realized, you know what, I got to have a way for people to get in touch with me because I didn't have that on the website now. And on the phone app, if they click this call now, it actually goes to their phone app and they can call me, they can email me to get in touch. Maybe schedule a Zoom call to talk about this further and seeing how we can do something motivational video. This is the video that my friend Asa, really changed his schedule because again, I was getting up at 2:45, which is way earlier than a lot of people are. So people freak out by well, man, I'll get up to 4 or 5, whatever. But this is it's getting attention, but also the results is what's keeping me getting up, right? So this video is really a cool motivational video. Maybe I'll play it on one of my episodes here, but you can go to the website, check it out for yourself. We have a message for the mastermind group. We have a message for the Change Me group. And at the Change Me group, these are some of the resources that we're sharing right now. We're going through this book, Discover Your Phenomenal Dream Life. And again, the top 5 books I'm going to say, I hope I remember them, were Your Story Brand by Donald Miller, The One Thing by Gary Keller, As a Man Thinketh by Robert Allen. What was the other one? I'm thinking E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and I want to say Atomic Habits was the other. But my complete reading list, I'll put the link here. If you go to goodreads.com/stealth marketer, you can take a look at all of the books that I've read. I think there's over 300 or so that may add a value. You can decide based on the reviews which ones you want to read. But this was we're going through as a group called Discover Your Phenomenal Dream Life Now. And in it, Howard Partridge talks about setting up your dream board and the principles that make for your phenomenal destiny. So check it out. You can actually buy it from the website here as well. But let's do the Free of Me series, which again, I showed the intro episode, the first episode, which you can go back to on YouTube, and then we'll show this next one, and then we'll wrap because it's 3:47 now. And this was 12 minutes. And this is right on from Right Now Media. I get this as a subscription from the church I attend. As a member, we get access to it, but I'll go ahead and share. We share this at our Saturday meetings now, but and I may not go through all of these on here, but we try to do some kind of training with these events that we do. We either have a speaker, but think of this as having a speaker. Here we go.
Welcome back to the second session of Free of Me. In the last session, we talked about the 3 myths of self-focus. First, we looked at the different forms of self-focus, which don't always look like predictable selfishness. Then we discussed the fact that self-focus is not a new problem, but is as old as humankind. And finally, we debunked the lie that self-focus creates self-confidence, as if the cure to all insecurity is simply affirmation. Many times what our souls really need is not a better self-image, but to refocus on God. And that is what we will be talking about in this session. It's extremely tempting to make God about us, kind of like God is this Santa Claus in the sky, doling out blessings if we're good. But that's not who God is or what he is about. Kaylee's story is about her relationship with this false God, a God centered on us. Listen to what happened to her faith when life didn't turn out like she expected.
I've always grown up in church. I mean, from the time I can remember, I'd always heard the name of Jesus in my house. But I grew up in a very, I guess, stricter environment. It was more about how you acted. And I always thought that for Jesus to love me, I just had to be perfect. I always had this vision, grand vision of my life of like, okay, I'm gonna graduate high school, I'm gonna go to college, I'm going to meet a nice boy, and he's, going to be great, and we're both going to get jobs and get married and, have this fairy tale life. And going through college, that did not happen. Graduating college, that has not happened. And I was really angry at God. I mean, I had a relationship where I was close to being engaged, talking about weddings, all these things, and then we broke up. And I was devastated, and I felt like I had gone through a divorce, and I was so mad at God. I mean, so mad. I just didn't understand. I was like, Lord, I love you. How come because I love you, you won't give me this? I took that and it was like, God, I'm only going to love you if you give me this. I'm only going to love you if you give me a husband. Lord, I'm only going to love you if you give me a baby. Lord, I'm only going to love you if you give me this job. And those things were failing because I was not putting my trust in God. I was putting my trust in me. This is something recently that I'm really coming into and learning about, is that loving him is the greatest treasure. It is the greatest thing. I don't need this thing from him. I just want his love. It took me learning how to trust him, learning him as father, learning him in an intimate way of having an intimate relationship with him, learning to be okay with God's plan, learning to be okay with the fact that my story doesn't look like my best friends, that doesn't look like my siblings, that it's solely designed for me. And it's just a beautiful season of learning about that and learning about him.
Kaylee admits that she developed a transactional relationship with God. She thought that if she did all the right things, checked all the right boxes, lived a good Christian life, that God essentially owed her blessing in return. I really applaud Kaylee for the courage and clarity it takes to see this in herself, because many of us never even recognize that we are doing the same thing. We never recognize that we treat God as if he exists to serve us instead of the other way around. This brings us to the first mirror in our study, which is God. Too often we approach the Bible asking, what does it say about me? What does God think about me? What plan does God have for me? In short, we make God about us. We make his gospel human-centered. And when we do this, we take all the power out of it. As Kaylee's story demonstrates, this human-centered mentality also embitters us toward God when our plans don't work out. We feel as if God owes us, as if he didn't hold up his end of the deal. What this sense of betrayal really reveals is that our faith was never about God in the first place. It was about us. With that in mind, I want to highlight 4 specific ways that we make God about us and how we can distinguish each one of these false gods from the one true God. The first is the self-help God. The self-help God exists to make you feel better about yourself. If you're feeling lonely or unattractive, overlooked, or insecure, this God can make you feel special. This approach to God is really just a Christian version of popular self-help messages. The difference between this false God and the one true God is focus. The self-help God focuses on you, but the one true God focuses on himself. We see this with prophets like Moses and Jeremiah, who came to God with tremendous senses of inadequacy. But God responds to their inabilities with affirmations of himself. In Exodus 4:12, for example, God says to Moses, "Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." In this moment, God doesn't coddle or praise Moses, but instead reminds him of his own power and his own strength. Moses' confidence depends not on his limitations, but on the limitless God. The second self-centered God is the self-serving God. The self-serving God exists to serve you, to make your life easier and better. This version of God gives you every desire of your heart and makes all your dreams come true. He wants you to be comfortable and happy, even successful and wealthy. This version of God is also about what God can do for you. This is the kind of God Kaylee was describing, and we can know it by its fruits. When your plans don't work out, or when scripture challenges your lifestyle, the self-serving God produces bitterness and hardness and entitlement in our hearts. We can distinguish between this false God and the one true God by how we respond to trials. When we face hardship, the self-serving God creates distance between us and God, whereas the one true God invites us nearer. He beckons us oh so gently, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Now, that is not to say that we cannot feel anger or doubt in the midst of suffering, but the self-serving God calcifies that anger in our hearts. The one true God patiently waits, offering comfort, refuge, and redemption when we are ready. The third false God is the self-exalting God. This version of God is about your reputation and your glory. It exists to make you look good in public. You follow this God so that everyone will like you and think you're a good person. The self-exalting God also exists to make you successful and well-known. This false God has actually been one of my biggest struggles, and it's also the one that stole my joy. In the beginning, I didn't pursue ministry in order to be famous, but glory is a seducer and praise is addictive. The more affirmation I received from my work, the more I needed to have it. And over time, that desire became a lifestyle. One of the ways we can distinguish between this false God and the one true God is its relationship with glory. When we ascribe to the self-exalting God, we end up having a greedy view of glory. We hoard glory, we crave glory, and we feel diminished by the shadow of other people's glory. But the one true God has a generous glory. Romans 8:17 explains, "We share in Christ's sufferings in order that we may also share in his glory," which means we get to enjoy God's glory with him. And we should have a similar approach to affirmation and praise. Rather than compete for it and shine as much light as possible on ourselves, we should be zealous to shine on others. The fourth and final false God is the self-image God, or God in the image of self. Author Anne Lamott once shared these wise words which were imparted to her by a friend. "You can safely assume you've created God in your own image when it turns out that God hates all the same people you do." This is the self-image God. This version of God is in some ways a combination of all the others. It serves you, it exalts you, and affirms who you are because this version of God looks just like you. This God cares about all the rules you care about. This God supports the causes you support. This God judges the people you judge. And this God has a lot of grace in the areas where you struggle. This version of God is also the hardest to see because the difference between God's convictions and our convictions are often tough to admit or even recognize. But when we make God into our own image, we end up opposing God instead. That is the lesson we take from the Pharisees, who worshiped a God who looked remarkably like them, but left them unable to recognize God in their midst. The self-image God is a comfortable God because it affirms everything we do and believe. But the one true God steps on our toes. He convicts, he exposes blind spots. He requires us to repent. When we make God about us, we miss something essential about him and ourselves. The power of the gospel is not that it makes us feel good, but that it calls us into something bigger than ourselves. And that larger vision is the thing our souls crave, but a domesticated God cannot provide it. In order to hold on to that bigger story, we have to live for much more than our own story. And that means focusing on more than what God can do for us, and focusing simply on God, meditating on his word, praising him in every season, and making this a habit of our hearts. Not because these are good Christian things to do, but because it is the key to freedom. Kaylee so beautifully put it, loving him is the greatest treasure.
All right. So these are awesome resources. And, as we put all this in perspective, really God's created things for you to do, and it's our job to detect what that is, to be our greatest um, example of faith, of perseverance, of overcoming, of righteousness, right wiseness. Again, in Miracle Solution, it was unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. And so the thing is, once you have your why, your mission, your assignment, the commission is the mission is the great commission for me in my practice, right? So using marketing to bring life to ventures, to causes, to ideas, to people in my network, etc. And knowing my why is important. And it started off with me wanting to retire my wife. We've been together 43 years. She deserves the life that we worked so hard to build with our family, but also impacting our children's lives, because we used to joke that they don't know they can't do stuff yet. And so that means we have to be childlike. We don't know we can't do stuff. And we as adults now, we can do so much more than we even think possible. And unfortunately, a lot of our life decisions, it's our decisions that we made, but then we want to blame God for our failures, right? So the opportunity is that, what, all of this was not for naught, right? The decisions, bad decisions and good decisions are still learning experiences. We can learn a lot from our bad decisions. So failure is actually a good principle in business, because you know what not to do in the future. But once you involve God in your why and your what, once you define your what, then he can show you the how, right? And that's where the faith is the substance, hope for, things that are not seen. I forget the actual Bible verse. I'm going through the process of remembering some of these verses, but there's a helper that comes to help you, to vision cast, to build the life that you want to live, that's beyond even your own understanding. So lean not on your own understanding, right? What I think I know just ain't so. So I tell people. And so as I continue on this journey, every day is a new day. Tomorrow may never come, but hopefully I worked hard yesterday to make the excellent day for today that I want to live. So it's a day of hope, getting rid of the negativity, the things that detract from what's possible, because there's that voice that says, "Oh, you really can't do that." Oh, you're going to mess up. Like getting up, doing this call today. I got up at 2:15 so that I wouldn't have any glitches. Well, guess what? The glitches showed up. But that's okay. I didn't take it as a worry. I didn't take it as a concern. And you vibe with me. And the whole purpose of this channel is, I'm going to output this as soon as I wrap, for the YouTube channel, so that people can watch it later, is just to inspire people. It's like, what, we get down, we get knocked down, we get back up, we get knocked down, we get back up. And so that's what life is all about. And time is limited, although we act like we have forever. So the key is, each moment is precious. And how can we, the Bible says, Lord, teach me to count my days. How can we count the days that we have? I'm 58 now, might live to 75, might live to 80, right? So knowing how much time that I potentially have left, how can I maximize the next quarter of my life, third of my life, for maximum impact. And that can come a lot faster than the previous years, redeeming the days. So I just ran the numbers. I don't know if I've talked about this in the video, but run the numbers on this schedule, right? Let's say 3 hours extra in the morning, right? And I think one of the trainings I saw, I think in the 2:30 motivational video, which I recommend you go watch at Zero Dark Network, you're just going to piss off the evening, 6, 7, 8 o'clock anyway, watching videos, nothing that's really going to add value. So my ideal time to go to bed right now is 7 or 8, although I went to bed around 9:30, 10 o'clock last night because I was finishing up a chapter in a book that I just needed to get done. I want to get it done to read before the end of the year so I can tabulate my stats, because it's like 3 books in one. It's a really thick book and it's taken me a while to read it. The Creature from Jekyll Island, if you ever want to read it, by I think Griffin, I forget his middle name, Griffin, but check it out because it foretells today. So all this to say is, getting up three hours a day times 6 days a week. Let's say you do it 6 days a week. I think I ran the numbers. It's like 6 months of additional productivity that was being wasted, if you will. It wasn't taken advantage of, or what, again, I call the silent death of the snooze. So yes, the alarm went off at 2:15. I only had 4.5 hours of sleep because I kept getting up, but I was resting really good though. It's deep sleep, good quality sleep as well. But even then, I wasn't dreading getting up. It was just I was, a little bit sleepy, a little bit groggy, but I started to energize myself. And so the thing is, as I'm starting to get into the day, I'll be energized like this all day until the end of the day. So I do have a full day today. I've got my Zoom call that I mentioned every Friday with the Fishers of Men. If you're interested in being a part of that group, let me know. I'll put my contact information in the description as well. And again, this is the 4th series. We're just getting started. And so the idea is, as leaders like yourself, people that are visionary, people that, are serious about, not curious about getting traction in their life, that's the whole vision for the Zero Dark Network. And so I wanted to start this Friday live for those that can't be at our events. So the link is ongoing in my schedule now, every Friday at 3. I didn't have it last Friday because it was Christmas, and I just decided, you know what, let me just enjoy the time with the family, because I did have family in town, and could have got up and disturbed everybody, and I didn't want to do that. So I'll sign off for now. Thank you for watching the Zero Dark Network. Go to zerodarknetwork.com and check it out, and reach out to me. Hopefully we can build something together that is long lasting. My mission is to help people become successful in their business ventures, in life in general. And, as I continue to learn things, I'll share them with the group, and vice versa. It's a learning community, become a learning machine, if you will. Take that. My name is Andy Valdez, founder of Marketing Dynamics. The late Peter Drucker, the father of management theory, believed marketing was critical to your business. He said the purpose of a business is to create a customer through marketing and innovation. Strategic marketing equals immediate success. We offer you speed to market without the speeding tickets. Work smarter, harder, faster. Marketing Dynamics, because the market never stays the same. Please visit teammarketingdynamics.com.